Okay, so I was just thinking about, you know the movie Men in Black 3? Where they meet this guy, and he's inside of a party, but he's from the fifth dimension, I think, and he has the ability to distinguish what's going to, like, the outcome, shortly before the outcome, depending on the different things that actually happen that he notices. And then he can make with that distinction of what's around him in that current moment as to what the possible outcome is, or probable outcome. And it always changes, but he only knows like a little bit before that. So I was just thinking about all these different changes that I'm going through, and all these new possibilities that I'm also moving through. And it's like every single time I start off like with one possibility or one probability, and I tend to like kind of freak out a little bit, because that I've limited what is possible. So it's like when I just sort of look at the scary side of that, maybe that's why I looked at cannibalism and death in my other video. It's like I feel the need to go into those really deep, dark, uncomfortable places so that I can see other possibilities within it. So it's not really the fascination with it. I mean, maybe it is, because it's something that seems so uncomfortable, but it's also finding more science behind it to see a different picture and not get so wrapped up in the emotion of what you're seeing. Because it's a powerful emotion, but it doesn't have to be, you know what I mean. So okay, so yeah, when I would think of one probability, it would start to sink me, and I would feel scared. But when I moved out of that, and I'd look at, science really helps me a lot with stuff, because if I can make sense of it in my head, then it opens up more possibilities, because I'm actually seeing it happen in my real life, experiencing it, and then I'm like, oh, I didn't even think of that. And then it's like a whole flood of all of these new possibilities come into my head, and I'm like, man, it didn't even have to be like that. Why am I freaking out about it? It didn't even have to be like that. And then it's like a hindsight, I'm looking at myself now, and I'm like, wow, it was that easy. I just had to think of something, other possibility of what it could be like. So I was thinking about how I've experienced that in my journey of knowing intuitively that something big is changing. Like something's... I guess I can liken it to that event horizon, the video where I talk about an event horizon in a black hole. And I realized in that moment, well, I'm realizing it now, actually this totally applies, but I talk about how there's no defining line, like it's just this is it, we're gonna bottom out and you're gonna experience something crazy town, and then it's now something new. And to me that feels like scary, because you just, to just immediately go into it, that change is like, you don't have time to process and get you're not grounded, you kind of panic and freak out a little bit. So then when I really thought about my perception and my size compared to that big structure, I'm like, well, it wouldn't be that scary, because that doesn't even make sense. So when I look at all the different things that I've experienced going through these motions of something's different, and it is here, but it's also everywhere. So I thought about this medium that I always go see. I think I talked about it. She's in Sedona, Arizona, and every time I go see this lady, like the first time I saw her, my mom was still alive. In fact, that was the summer that she had passed away, and it was like the last trip we had. So this medium and that whole event really has a big place in my heart. And everything I am taking most of this learning from is like the spiritual side of this plane right here. She helped me integrate all of that. So the next time I decided to go see this medium, which is like usually like a 1 or 2 year gap in between, I asked her about my ma, and it was like a little fragmented with the receiving of it, but it was a few things, and then it's like I couldn't make sense of it right away. So then the next time I'd go see this lady, she would tell me, like, I would ask again if there was any like message that my mom needs to get through to me, and the message would be totally different. Still a little confusing, but it was different. It would be different. And then I went to see her the last time, and like, which was this past summer, and it was like a totally different experience. It was as if it was all just verification that I am receiving messages from Spirit, and there's no need to ask, because what I am receiving is the truth. It's the possibility. It's the possible, like every time I come up with a video or a truth, it's like the smaller piece of the whole puzzle. So every time that I settle with something and I express it, it's like almost immediately I have more possibilities that roll in, and I'm like, oh, dang it, I should have just waited a minute. And they're like, no, you had to get it out so that you could, you have to like let it all out of you, because then you're empty, and then, you know, they can put more possibilities in you. Because if your cup already runneth over, it's like, well, what do you do? So it's like you gotta drink it, I guess, you know, let it go through you, and then you can have more of this living water. And an example that I can use is that every time I went to see the medium after my mom passed away, I always wanted to know if it was possible, or if my mom was going to come back in another body, and if I would recognize her. And every time I asked, I remember always having this thought or this feeling like I didn't believe it, you know? Like I wasn't ready to accept that possibility. I just, you know, it's been a long road for all of us, and we all don't like all of these probabilities. What we want are more possibilities to something more enjoyable than this, you know? We want more than this. We want to be totally happy. We want everything, you know? And I think maybe it might be difficult because we think we can't have everything. We think like on a grand scale, I think a lot of us tend to think that it's not possible. But I've been moving into such a large land of possibility that the more and more I connect with Spirit, and it's like my mom, like the closer I get to my mom, it just becomes, it's like when I accepted the possibility, I made it a probability. Like my heart knows, because I know there's nothing that trumps love. Love is truth. To be truly in love with the truth. Because that is what's true. Total possibility. Whatever you want to experience is your highest feeling. So it was all about just accepting that and believing it, and then finding your way to understanding how, well, for me it was scientifically. How can I scientifically make sense of this? Okay, if it's a light body, it's a spirit body, which I can already see, then why would I, you know, it's like I can scientifically make sense that this is a total possibility. Because even though gas is it just looks different. It's just a different state of being. So I mean, not only intuitively, but scientifically, we can prove that the mass of a human body is a little bit different when they pass away than it was when they were alive. So, I mean, scientifically, something is happening there. And there's no reason to believe that that couldn't be possible. But we don't have to settle with just that. I mean, I can settle on the fact that knowing it is totally possible and it is totally happening. But I think my mind has a hard time because I need to also make sense of it so that I can teach others how to gather information so that the two are connecting together so they can work in harmony, so that when some other possibility pops up, there's no need to freak out about it. Because, I mean, if it scares you, then just delve into it, because there's probably something you don't understand about that possibility that makes it so scary. It's kind of like the movie It. You know, the one with, it's like I think it's a Stephen King film, and that clown. I think I saw that movie when I was, like, I don't know, like 7 or 8 or something. I was really young. And I remember being wicked freaked out about it, like really scared about it. So I was like, how can I make myself feel better about this character and my feeling? And I'm like, well, it's a movie. So somebody's acting that part. So I looked up who this actor was, and it's Tim Curry. So now he became one of, you know, in that moment, he became one of my most favorite actors of all time. And in some respects, it's really funny because I remember love watching all the different films he was in, because I found him so attractive and so attracting. And even though societal view, I mean, of being beauty or not beauty, that didn't matter, because I felt this very strong feeling of fear for this character in this movie. But as soon as I found out who it was, I realized it was like, it became an attraction. It was like this opposing force, or this attractive, I mean, kind of the same. It's just depending on what side you're both looking at or something, you know? And then when I did more research getting older, I realized that he was an Aries, or is an Aries. And that's funny, because how in the world could I possibly... It's like pretty incredible that all of this really is science, that I intuitively knew, because it's really, you know, I didn't really freak out over that many movies. I actually loved gory stuff. So the fact that that was like a piercer for me, and then finding out that fear, that same fear love, you know what I mean? It turned. It, like, the tables turned. I was freaking out, and then I found my way to some truth, and it was like, you know, it switched or it came together, and it was like resonating with a very strong attraction. It's really interesting. It ended up he's actually the polar opposite in Aries and Libra. I mean, to sense that through a TV screen, that's pretty intense. So it's like whatever you're repelled by, there's a good chance that there's something more there to be discovered. And it's like when you finally find out more information about it, then it makes sense. You know, then it makes sense, and it didn't scare me anymore, because I just did a little more research on it and did what made sense, that it is just a character, someone playing that part to evoke an emotion. Invoke? Either way. You know, that's his purpose, to bring those emotions out so that you can investigate further, so that you can realize there's more than just one possibility. It doesn't have to be scary at all. It might be something, you know, I ended up really being attracted to that. And I like all the movies and the way he acts, and, you know, it's totally true. It's all about the perspective and realizing that you don't have to be stuck right here. You could be You could be looking around at all sides of what's going on, and you can make sense of it. And then, you know, science is always discovering more and more new stuff all the time. So, and it's sort of exponential. It's just like so much. Even phones are pretty much like outdated in 4 months, and there's a new phone. So I mean, clearly we can see that we're figuring out more stuff. So maybe that's why it seems like everything's happening so quickly, and why things are changing so fast is simply because we are learning more. It's an information age, you know? This is like the golden information age, and it's raising our frequencies, and that's probably why it's called ascension, and why, I mean, it's like we're getting so high in vibration just by bringing in new technology and learning new things, and then science making sense of imagination, and like, you know, all the things that were sci-fi before are totally not fiction. It was like the imagination went into the movie screen, and everyone was like, oh, that's Boulder Dash. And then bam, we got cell phones. We got, I mean, I didn't even have a cell phone until I was 18. I mean, it's wild what's happened just since 1983 when I was born. So, I mean, we can sit here all day and mull over the fear, but it's like, the more doors that we open to, like, by just thinking about it with our imagination, and then when you look to see all the advances in science, you're like, well, that was in that movie, like, you know, 5 years ago, 10, 20 years ago. And it's like, we don't have to look at the scary side, because we all know that everything that we have the ability to choose to use it for fear, or we have the ability to use it for you know, peace and love and everything else. It doesn't have to be feared, because we all know that everything that we usually freak out about on a grand scale are the things that are inside of our bodies every day and in every other thing, because it's all made out of the same stuff. So maybe we got to rearrange the way we look at things all the time, because it's really a fun ride if you just, I don't know. It's fun. It's really fun. I like figuring stuff out and opening new possibilities. Makes me feel like crap when I'm stuck in the same swamp water. So going back to that Men in Black 3 thing, I think what really hit me to make this video was that I realized that everything I kept receiving was totally different from my ma at each time I saw that medium. But this last time, my medium told me that my ma was saying, she said, you and your ma are gonna go on an adventure. She said that, oh gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. She said that you and your ma, like your ma is saying that you're gonna both go on a big adventure, and that she's gonna take my hand, and I pictured it in my head. She's gonna take my hand, and she's gonna go with me on this adventure. We're going with each other on this big adventure. And it sounded so intense, because I was thinking, I gotta be honest, I was thinking about, like, death. Like, does that mean I'm gonna die soon? And it's, you know, then I realize looking back on it now, that's only one viewpoint. That's only one, I've now honed in on a probability when it's just one possibility. I just had to look at it different, because now that I changed the way I thought about it, I'm changing the way I feel about it. I mean, it's the same thing. I always know that that's possible, but I just freaked out and honed in on just one possibility as to what that meant. But now, more and more, especially last night, you know, I can see light bodies. In fact, I don't know if I upped my vibration amped up or what happened, but wow, every day it's like I see so much more, and it's just amazing. And I remember that I was talking to my mom last night, right before I was going to bed. And she said she was rubbing my back. And I think she gave me a kiss on my cheek, probably. Because I can see that she's there. I can see a figure moving. It's kind of like a invisible outline, sort of. It's like an invisible outline, but since last night I can see way more color now. So it's like I'm actually seeing that world. I don't know why I always look up. I mean, that's a good way to understand it, I suppose. It's like we're all here on this one plane. We're already all here, all of us. The only thing that's actually changing is the frequency. So maybe, oh, I just thought of something. Maybe the light, maybe the whole reason why I was saying that the light seems harsher, because even when I visited Phoenix, Arizona, or, Phoenix and Sedona, Arizona this summer, I was like, whoa, this sun is really, really, really intense. Like, really. I remember stepping out the car door, and I lived there for 14 years, so I know what something used to feel like. So it's like when I step out the car door to pump some gas, and I'm like, ow, like immediately, and like, not ow, ow, but, I felt like I was burning immediately. So when I can tell that's a clear light change, that's a clearly something is different. And I had felt that for a while, but I thought maybe it was just in my head. So it's like the actual sun rays, or the rays of everything. It's almost as if the rays, everything's coming to the center. It's like, it's like the sources of light are being drawn into the center, and maybe it feels like pressure, and maybe that's the reason why we think what we feel that something's happening, and it feels really like, sometimes it feels really uncomfortable because we kind of panic because we're trying to come up with all these reasons as to why it's happening. But I feel truly that what is happening is this pressure is really just the expression of all the light frequencies coming in and meshing with our current frequencies. So it feels uncomfortable, and it's like panicky sometimes because it's gotta mesh. Like I was talking about yesterday, it's like we're letting these frequencies mesh, and it's only gonna happen just as much as we can handle, because the truth is, it is all right here. All of it's right here. But it couldn't get here. Just like the medium kept telling me that my ma said she wouldn't be here in another body, or I could see her like this. That's probably the reason why it kept becoming the same answer to that question. But my mom's overall message was a little bit different each time, because now I have accepted the possibility. I have now reached out and said, well, why not? Can I make that scientifically possible? How can my brain get on the same page as I want this? So now that I understand light bodies, I mean, I already knew that there were clearly spirits and there were people, but I didn't realize it really is this whole plane, and they're all just begging to be listened to. That as soon as we allow, I mean, it's all going to happen in the right timing so that we can adjust and feel comfortable with the situation. So it's, I feel like I'm a filter. I feel like I'm truly a filter. I truly take in so much each day. I take in so much that I can, I was talking about how my cells, they fizz around, like everything is fizzing in here. But when I really break it down to something that I can understand at night, is that at night, whoa, it's like the sun rays come down on this earth during the day. And I tend to freak out a lot at night, mostly. And it's because I see so many things that I'm not entirely used to. But it's getting so much better because now I see more of the figure instead of a fragmented piece. It's not so scary because I can actually see more clearly, not like super clear. I mean, it's a process, but I can see more of the figure, and it's not so scary because the colors are integrated now, and it's not just like this staticky snow screen, you know, like on a TV that's static. I mean, I don't think that actually TVs do that anymore, but you know what I mean. It's like that. And I think at night, when that sun, you know, is not there anymore, and it's just the moon, it's like I feel as though all the frequencies that the sun was giving the earth in that moment, and all the frequencies that were going into my body, because whether I'm in the sun or not, all these frequencies resonate in the air and everything else. So just by walking and being outside, I mean, being anywhere, because it all goes in there, all absorbs. That at night, it's almost like a whoa, I just thought of something. It's like a reflection, because the moon is a reflection of the sun, like the sun reflects off the moon, right? So then it's like, where does that go? It reflects off the moon, and then the moon reflects onto the earth, but it also reflects on the people. I mean, it reflects on everything. So then it's like we actually become these beacons. We actually become these reflections of the frequencies that are coming in and being more accepted now. Whoa, I remember this passage, and this reminds me of a passage in the Bible. Actually, it's in Revelation, I think. And it says something about how during the revelations there will be lights. No. That certain people will not be in the dark. That when everything goes dark, there will be light in the hearts of, there'll be light. Oh man. I know someone's got to know what I'm talking about. I feel like that's in there. Like they will have lights with them or something. Because I know I can already see so much at night, and it just gets greater and greater that it's like the more I experience, the more I can see this, I'm literally sending it out to everybody else too. So that totally makes sense. Wow. Just by accepting more possibilities. Even though I know the outcome, even though I know that these worlds are coming together, it's like, you know, the journey of how to get the journey is perfect because I have to get prepared for all these frequencies. I gotta prepare my body so that I can create more solution of the frequencies melding together with the old and the new, and then that way I can spread it out through this pool that we all walk through, the moon pool. Now that makes more sense. It's like one of my previous videos, moon pool. The time loop and the moon pool. Wow. Well, you know what? This makes more sense now that I talked it out. Okay. Well, that's all I have for now. Thanks for watching.